Hello and welcome to this presentation. So I'm going to talk about extended digital musical instruments and their application for therapeutic purposes, in particular with an example of Be Creative. So I am a researcher affiliated both the interdisciplinary nucleus of sound communication, NICS, and the Brazilian Institute of Neuroscience and Neurotechnology, the brain, here at Unicamp in Brazil. And as a music therapist and musicologist, my work focuses on the application of extended DMI in therapy, rehabilitation, but also art and education, a pursuit that I've been dedicated to since my doctoral studies over a decade ago. I believe I'm among the first to patent such technology for these specific purposes. I am open to collaboration and I am very happy to be part of this network, which I truly believe is very urgent in these times. So I would like to thank Marcella Mandanici for this invitation. So we probably all know that unlike traditional musical instruments, the MI separates its sound production unit from its gestural control unit. And this means that any instrument or object can generate sounds as an output. And this approach allows for greater flexibility and creative possibility in music, creation, and artistic expression. But what I'm talking about, extended DMI, this concept goes beyond the scope of DMIs. And unlike DMIs, extended DMI initially embraced the concept of environment, ecology, and immersion. And these instruments prioritize embodiment as a key element in interpreting reality and shaping the overall musical experience. And by emphasizing the embodied interaction between the musician and the environment, EDMIs offers a new dimension of expressive possibilities and engagement. So my approach establishes a meaningful dialogue between art and technology, which holds great significance in the clinical therapeutic field, among others. With Be Creative, the user become a performer, composer, artist, producing their own feedback. And the artistic installation act as bridges between reality and its possible interpretation. And from this perspective, Be Creative represents an interesting opportunity to experience and understand the relationship between the body, the technology, and art, as well as direct communication abilities. And this interaction between the body and the technology creates a rich sensory experience, allowing artists to explore new forms of expression and engagement. Also, direct communication with the environment and technology broadens creative and transformative possibilities, connecting individuals to their own artistic expression and the world around them. As a team, our main research objective is to facilitate the user self-expression, achieving creative empowerment. And this concept should be considered within the paradigm of embodied cognition again, helping user to understand the aesthetic perspective that emerges from sensory motor and perceptual experiences. But what it is. So this concept of creative empowerment is about enabling individuals to use technology to enhance their creativity and feel a sense of control and agency over the creative process. So with my team here in Brazil, we observe new neural connections throughout study with fMRI and a contingency of data between virtual capability and self-perceived performance questionnaires and functional MRI data, and revealing an increase in the calibration of movement fluidity and self-awareness in the daily practice of being creative. And these findings may be correlated with the concept of creative empowerment associated with a reward circuit. So creating an audiovisual sonification of subject's body. This is what is our research and studies on the use of virtual action, studying movement fluidity, creative empowerment, and interaction. So training with an EDMI results in changes in cognitive control, observable during improvisation session and measurable throughout data acquisition. Audiovisual motor learning generates and strengthens new sensory motor maps based on cross-coding, thereby increasing the user's concentration. Engaging with Gibson concept of affordance, we define the notion of virtual affordances as the properties of the interactive virtual environment that suggest possible or available actions based on the user perception. So we can infer that one of the foundation of DMI is based on the idea of how technological tools provide extension to the user body, simplifying certain situations while amplifying outcomes. And this is why it is important to maintain a continuous dialogue with embodied cognition, because we need to understand how humans interact with technological environment and how this influences our actions, such as exploration, learning, and behavior. Well, we have adopted an approach that we call the quali-quanti, qualitative and quantitative data analysis, conducting experiments using fMRI, and the results are about to be published in the Nordic Journal of Music Therapy, where I created a special issue with Wendy Maggi. And recently we completed an experiment with a postural client, and previously another experiment with healthy participants, both utilizing electroencephalogram. And the results of these studies will be published in the coming months. Here you can see the findings that are going to be published in the next days in the Northern Journal. This figure visually represents the median group variation in connectivity and highlight significant changes between brain regions before and after the training. So don't worry. I mean, it's a lot of information, I know, but it's succinctly illustrated overall impact of Be Creative on brain network connectivity. Let's say just in particular that there is an increase in connectivity. We found positive changes in regions related to reward processing and decision making, enhancing motivation and cognitive engagement. So we are very happy to share these findings in the Nordic Journal of Music Therapy. Just a short mention that we have got a previous prototype eventually patented that was EMOCOMO, that stands for Emotion, Color and Music, and laid the groundwork for our current developments. At the present, our patent process for Be Creative is under analysis. To date, we have completed several experiments, as I just mentioned, with different groups of participants using various software and programs specifically designed for a study that replicates a cave environment. And so, to wrap up, where to go to the future? In conclusion, well, research indicates that EDMIs and DMIs not only assist in physical and cognitive rehabilitation, but also enhance client motivation and long-term engagement. So future developments may focus on integrating innovative approaches to further personalize therapeutic experience and artistic experience and optimize outcomes. Thank you all for your attention. I hope you enjoyed this very short presentation with a lot of information. And finally, I just would like to remind that the special issue will be published soon. So stay tuned, and thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you, Elena. Okay, are you there? Yes, do you hear us? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, very, very, very interesting. I have two questions for you. And I would like to know something more about these extended instruments. I mean, are these environment just usual installations, or do they have particular features for disabled people? I mean, they are designed especially for disabled people, or are they simple, normal, usual installations, maybe used for both or for everybody?
Of course.
Do they have some particular feature?
So when we design it, of course, at the beginning we did a general design of this extended DMI, but then especially for the last experiment, we used and we implemented a co-design using also insight from a physiotherapist. that was with us during the experiment. So, of course, the future has changed during the experiment because, particularly for a post-stroke patient, client, sorry, it is quite different what we
Yes.
can use and implement. So it's tailored
It's tailored,
for,
of course.
yeah, it's tailored for the needs of the clients, of course. And then it's like a cave.
Yes, then another thing you said is that a network about these problems is important and urgent. Why?
Well, I believe, I think that together we can have an approach, an interdisciplinary approach, help each other to grow this different kind of not just network, but approach and insight. So we can help this field to evolve. And of course, keeping in mind the client and the people to whom we want to address this kind of DMIs and technologies.
Okay,
This,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
sorry to
Questions?
bump you, Marcella. This is an excellent topic, of course, for the reflection at the end.
Of course, yes, of course. And everybody, somebody has other questions for Elena?
Yes, perhaps I have. I know the time was very limited. Elena, thank you very much. I have to be honest, I get to know you now, and I'm very happy about that, especially the link to embodied cognition and extended cognition is really interesting. And I understand in this limited time of 10 minutes, you cannot go deep into your measurements, but I am quite interested to know more about that. The slide, I wrote everything down, the quality data, fMRI, EEG, affective sliders. And could you just elaborate a little bit more how exactly you use it when people play such an instrument?
Sure. So far, well, we got a first experiment with fMRI. And of course, between fMRI and electroencephalogram is quite different, the approach. So we got, but usually what we did, this was before the COVID pandemic in 2019. We applied fMRI before and after the first session of 10 session. And during the half, I mean, after 5 session and after the last day, the last session. And each day qualitative assessment through our questionnaire, of course, recording session every time. And then we try to apply something similar, that is with the electroencephalogram, but with the EEG, we applied before and after the first session and before and after the last session. And meanwhile, always the qualitative, the questionnaire and the recording. So this is, and now we have a lot, not just this, to be sincere, we also tracking the movement during the experiment. So we have quite a lot of data. So, and during one experiment, we also wanted to track the, let's say, the sonification, that is not just the movement of the subject, the user, but exactly the kind of, the sound that she was producing. So we've got a lot of data now. We are trying to, talk and see how we can integrate one with the other and analyze it.
Okay. Well, sounds extremely interesting. I'm having a project where we do similar measurements, but then not with ADMIs, but just with the clarinet and the violin.
Oh, nice.
But so I'm very interested. Will you connect, for example, then when you have the motion capture data to what's going on in the EEG or the fMRI data? Will you try to find, like, perhaps use machine learning, create a model? Is that the way you're going?
Well, we are interested in this perspective, but also in the emotional response that we are trying to, it's kind of new field, this one of EEG and emotion. So we are trying anyway to establish some a path, because it's not just, but it's like using an DMI in this situation with this approach is something quite new. So we are trying to see where we can go and how we can analyze it, following some paths that are already open and something that we believe that could be possible in this situation.
Okay, thanks. Sounds great.
Thank you very much for your question.
Thank you very much, Elena, for this very early participation for her.
There is one
We had an hour
last
issue.
question
Okay.
from
Okay.
there is one last question from Tiffany, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do we have time for that?
I think so, yes. 2 minutes.
Okay, Elena, thank you very much. It was so interesting. I just have a question about the sonification of VR affordances. Do you have some examples or some more precise idea of what it is, and can you explain us?
Well, actually, I think in some of my papers I explain it, not too much, but it's not easy. It's quite, I call it in layers. So it's like we have a sonification that is an underground sonification that reacts considering the kind of movement of the subject. And then we have what we call virtual affordance. So it depends on how the person reacts precisely, kind of movement to kind of sounds. And this is because, my objective of this research, my research, have been always to investigate and try to give a tool that allows clients, for example, in music therapy, as there are quite a lot of limitation, to allow the person to be able to play an instrument with their body without having previous knowledge. And this is why I've always been in this 10 years focusing on DMIs, because they could give me in my session or musicology in whatever, a lot of possibilities from this perspective that were, quite important when talking about therapeutic implication and application.
Thank
you
you
for your question.
Well, other questions? Okay. So now